Let's say you want to figure out how much an entire company is worth, and you want me to explain it to you in 7 minutes or less. No problem. There are essentially 3 methods that are used to do this. Well, okay, and a few others that are similar to these 3, but you may be surprised to find out that these are quite simple in concept, but to be fair, they can become quite complex. Let's work with an example of your favorite coffee shop. How much is the coffee shop worth? Let's get something out there right away. We are not looking for a single right answer. If you're the seller and I'm the buyer, what something is worth is what you and I agree to, and that's it. And of course, if a lot of folks are involved, there will be multiple potential values for something because things are worth different amounts to different people. So the idea here is to A, give you a sense for how things are valued, and B, come up with ways to triangulate the value of a company. In other words, try to figure out a range of reasonable values and determine what the assumptions are that are driving them. In other words, this will be the start of your negotiation. Method 1 is the recreate method. This involves determining how much money it would take to create a new coffee shop from the ground up. That's just like the one you want to value. This would incorporate buying or building the location, buying the equipment, hiring the employees, and building the brand. This method is used when the other 2 methods don't work, the ones that I'm about to talk about. So let's say for your coffee shop, you add up the cost for creating the shop and get $900,000. That's your first estimate of value. Method 2 is called the method of comparables. For this, you find other coffee shops that have sold recently and use those as a guide to figure out what your coffee shop is worth. This one sounds easy, but can be pretty noisy in practice. It's not likely that you can find an exact replica that has sold recently in the same neighborhood. So you're going to have to widen the bounds of your search. Maybe 2 coffee shops have sold in the same town, but they might be further away from the train station, for example. Or maybe they were sold 3 or 4 years ago. Or you can't find coffee shops that have sold recently, but you can identify several bakeries or other small food retailers that have changed hands. These may indeed be more relevant for valuing your coffee shop. Anyway, once you identify the 2 or 3 comparable shops, you need to calibrate for differences in size, location, and other critical drivers of value. This is not necessarily difficult, but the data can be tricky to locate and apply. For example, say a shop sold last year for $2 million, but it's twice the size of your coffee shop. So you'll need to apply a discount to your coffee shop's value, and a 50% discount would be appropriate for starters. So we would say that your coffee shop is worth $1 million. But now let's say that your coffee shop is near the train station and bus stops, so it will be much busier than the larger coffee shop that's several miles away. How do you then adjust for this? Well, let's say you find information about 2 bakeries that have sold in the past few years. The first bakery, which is near the train station, sold for $500,000, and a second bakery, which is not near the train station, sold for $400,000. So the value premium for being closer to the train station is about 25%. That is, $500,000 is 25% more than $400,000. Coming back to our coffee shop. Our value estimate now stands at $1 million, but since it's closer to the train station, we would now apply the 25% premium, so we bump up the value estimate to $1,250,000. That's it. Of course, the closer the comparables and estimates for value drivers, the more confident you can be in your negotiation. At the very least, we've established a firm starting point. Okay, to sum up where we stand now, the recreate method gave us $900,000, and the method of comparables gave us $1,250,000. Now on to the third method, which is called the free cash flow method of valuation. This method involves a fair amount of knowledge of financial statements, but the idea is pretty straightforward. You forecast how much cash flow the business is expected to generate over time, then determine what that's worth to you today. So say the business is expected to, after all expenses have been paid for, generate $100,000 a year of excess cash flow. We call these free cash flows because they are free and clear and can be removed from the business if you choose. If the business generates $100,000 a year of free cash flows, then what would you pay today to have that cash flow stream in the future? If you want to generate a rate of return of 10%, then you would pay $1 million today for a consistent stream of $100,000. That's it. That's all there is to it. All right, not quite all there is to it. To figure out what cash flow will be free and clear, you'll have to do some work to forecast this, and of course, forecasting will always involve some uncertainty, and this risk will need to be baked into the rate of return that's required. So maybe 10% for some and higher or lower for others. But these can all be estimated, and you can create several forecasting scenarios to help gauge high and low possible models of value. For our final value summary, the three methods have come up with values for our coffee shop of $900,000, $1,250,000, and $1 million. If we're equally confident in these estimates, we can take an average, and we would end up with an initial estimate for value of $1,050,000. There you are, valuing a company in 7 minutes or less.